Hello, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to today's show. My name is Asare, and I am here with Mr. Jones Amegbor, the CEO and founder of Payangel, Africa's payment expert and the best money transfer services to Ghana. Mr. Jones, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so please, I want us to dive right in. Can you please tell us a little bit about who you are as Jones Amegbor?
Well, again, thank you for that introduction. The title actually feels a bit heavy for me. I prefer to be known as the any work of Payangel.
Wow.
Like most Ghanaians, I grew up in Ghana and actually in Keta, and went to the usual, I guess we call it Saito.
Wow.
And I guess I've always just believed in myself, although growing up in what I will call a middle income family, although we had very little. I grew up believing that we can change things, and I was always entrepreneurial in a way. I guess thanks to my mom. I grew up selling condo.
Wow.
I grew up selling condo in the local hospitals and stuff, even before going to school. But there was always this belief that there's more to be done. So Jones is just average Joe on the streets who believes that change can be made by every individual, so long as you do it. And that is the journey I am on. So Payangel is all about making the changes that we've always wanted, but not been able to do, or haven't had the stomach to do it because it's a difficult journey.
Wow. Before you even go further, from Keta, where did you go to high school, your university, and how did you start work life?
Interestingly, after Keta, I had the opportunity to stay and go to Keta Secondary School, but I guess JSS over there, but I opted to come to Accra, and I went to National and JSS again, another site where we did a morning and afternoon session. So I didn't come from Riches. I went through the government education system. So from National Anglican, it was believed that we couldn't make it into Presec.
Wow.
And I was told categorically that you're not picking Presec. And unfortunately for me, the headmistress knew my dad and made sure that my dad, I will never forget this, came home one day and said, I haven't been listening to advice.
Wow.
I chose Presec, I chose St. Peter's, and I chose Accra as the college.
Wow.
And yes, my dad came home that day and with a report from the headmistress that I'm not listening to any advice, and nobody had actually made it to Presec.
Wow.
And the grade that were being selected at the time, I wasn't going to make it. They believed that I'm good, but
It was competitive.
it was very competitive. So my dad came home and he bought me a ruler, one of those long ones, I've been forgotten. I think it's had shattered written on it, one of those big ones, and asked me to put my fingers together, because I dared to dream. But I guess that shows that I've always been a dreamer. And thankfully, even though the schools were changed, so it was changed to Accra, Wesley Grammar, and Udogno.
Oh.
I had others who believed in me. One of the teachers over there contacted me and said, Jones, do you really want this? I said yes. And then he changed it to Presec for me before he submitted the result, the application.
Wow.
So I initially chose Presec and science because of course Presec is known for science. But when they changed it to Accra, they changed the subject as well, business to business. And when he changed the school, he didn't change the subject. So I ended up Presec with business. And that's how come I fell into the business space.
Wow.
To me, I see it as God.
It's a divine.
That is what God wanted me to do, and that's how come I fell into business. I did everything to change it back to science, but that wasn't God's plan for me. So
Wow.
I stayed in business. And,
So in essence, Jones here was not born into a rich family. He was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was all the way in the Volta region, in a Saito school, Kokunte, came to Accra. They went to Pashiman JHS, Anglican JHS. He chose the school that he wants to go, and he was punished for it. But God had other plans for him, and he went to Presec to read business. From there, where did you go to?
I went to University of Ghana, and at that time I still wasn't sure whether to continue business or go into law. And I did really, really well in economics, so I got confused as well as to whether to go into economics. But in the end, I decided to do business because it was like the hottest thing at the time, and decided to major in accounting. And whilst there, I realized that I was a bit too timid, and I've always run away from being in the public domain. In level 300, my friends started pushing me for student office, and I said no. But I have to be thankful for my friends for continuing to push, although I said no several times. One day I was there, and Professor Hector called me into the office and said, "What is this, Jones, I am hearing?" in his usual LA accent. "What is this? I am hearing that your friends want you to be the president of the business house, and you're saying no. Why are you here?" When he asked me that question, I thought about it, and I'm like, isn't that a simple question? And he repeated it, and I said, well, I'm here to be trained for the business world. He said, nonsense. That is not why you're here. Come again. And I stood there, racking my brain, trying to come up with the perfect answer for him. And I frankly couldn't. And he said, this place is a management tool. You are here to be trained as a leader. So that is why you're here. You're going to take that position whether you want it or not. You're going to run for it. And he had the application form already there. Somebody had submitted it to him. He made me sign it. And the next thing I know was the business I was closing.
Oh my goodness. Do you know the interesting thing I'm getting from all this sort of story you're telling me? For some reason, God positioned people in your life to push you into your destiny.
Absolutely. So my story, I can always say that God had a hand in getting me to where I am right now, and even in choosing the name Payangel. Right from JSS to Presec, even in Presec, I became one of the library prefects, not because I felt that I could do it. And in fact, at the time, I didn't even know the school librarian's name. But then, again, somebody nominated me. I think I remember one of the seniors. He was a prefect at the time as well. He chose to nominate me. And when the names were read out, I was very surprised, and I was supposed to go for an interview with the teachers.
Wow.
When I showed up, they asked me very basic questions, and I had no clue. I mean, who is the school librarian? I wasn't the library type, by the way. But somehow, because it was God ordained, everybody that applied they were all dropped, only two of us were left, which meant that I automatically became a prefect. It was either going to be the main or assistant. So that was how I started getting into leadership. And then the excuse I was giving Professor Hector when I went to Lagos was that I am timid, I have speech impediments, and I can't talk in public. And he said, well, this is your opportunity to learn. This is the perfect opportunity to put yourself out there. So that's
That was it.
that was it.
Wow. So from the University of Ghana Business School, you went outside Ghana. Can you tell us about that experience in the education and everything that happened outside Ghana?
Yeah, so after Legon, I actually decided to go out Ghana for a while. I didn't have a good ending at Legon. I didn't come down for my graduation because I had a little bit of a fight with the school authorities at the time.
Wow.
At the time. Nobody thought that I will be
Started
standing.
like that.
I'll be standing up to school authorities because yes, you look at my size at the time. I was tiny, and truly, I had stage fright. Was timid and all, but then in the end, they thought that looking at my size and everything, they could just
Bully you.
get everything they wanted, but it came as a surprise to them. So I didn't come for my graduation. I went straight to London, but I needed to come and do my service because I wasn't sure whether I was going to stay there or not.
Yeah.
So I came down for my service. Thankfully, it was on campus. I was given the chance to work at African Virtual University on campus. I've always loved IT. I don't know why, business student, but I've always loved IT. So I was given the chance to work at African Virtual University with a couple of friends who I guess I bonded very well with on campus. And I stayed on campus. The School of Admin wanted me to come and become a TA. I said no, I'm not coming. I'm not coming there because I didn't really have a good experience in there. And after doing my service, I went back. I was actually meant to join EcoBank at the time.
Okay.
Because when I was in school as a business house president, I was one of those who again dared to dream. This was my first biggest achievement, and I think it was the first thing that actually cemented the reason behind my friends wanting me to take the position. When I took the role, I said, no business as usual. We're not going to take dues and basically host some annual event, dinner dance or something, and then that's it. Our job is done. We have to connect the business school to the business world. So I set off to start a business journal and called it the Legon Business Journal.
Wow.
That created a lot of problems for me, the executives, and unfortunately for me, none of the executives were in support. They said there was too big a task to accomplish, and we had only a year. But the long and short of it was that we got it done after major failures.
Wow.
But we got it done, and through that journey, I became friends with Dr. Shimaka. May he so rest in peace. And so I was going to work for EcoBank, but
God had other plans.
I decided, yes, I decided to go out and pursue my education. So I went back to London and enrolled on an MBA program.
Wow. Which school was that?
I ended up going to Coventry University. Not that that was my first choice. But I couldn't afford to pay for any of my first choices.
Okay.
And although I had admission to all of them, they were just too expensive.
Okay.
It would have been where I wanted to go, but again, this is where the God hand comes in. All the unis I applied for were all top business schools, but because I couldn't get them, I had to settle for one, Asare University in Birmingham. I had all the interviews with them. I was to go over and see them. And when I went, I didn't like the reception at all.
Wow.
So I decided to just go to Coventry and see how their setup was like. And Coventry wasn't really known for business. It's more for engineering and technology, etc. So I wasn't really keen on it. But when I went, the reception was completely different. So I changed my mind. I'm like, yes, I feel at home over here. And through the conversations as well, I realized that they had MBA in information technology. And I said to myself, hold on a minute, what do I really need to study again in finance? I'm an accounting major. I've seen it and done it. I'm working in the finance space. What really?
What does one need?
The MBA was quite the surface of finance. So I said, hey, this is an opportunity to do something different. So I took on the MBA IT. So Coventry University MBA IT.
Wow. And that's how come this whole idea came up. Now, can you delve into your work life and how you started the whole Payangel journey?
So in the UK, I joined Barclays and pretty much did everything you can think of within Barclays. I started at a contact center, and then when I finished uni, I said to myself, this issue of not being confident in front of people, I need to tackle it. So I said, you know what, let me go and work in the branch so I can deal with customers face to face. My first 3 months over there, the branch managers were always telling me, you're not doing great, you're not doing well enough. The next 3 months, I was the second highest performing personal banker in the country. And it came as because that first 3 months, I spent time understanding people. So you sit in front of me, it's not the first thing I think about is not to sell to you, but to understand what your needs are and see how I can match it. And I made note of everything, even football team you support, the number of kids you have, their names, etc. Once I understood that, you sit in front of me, I can match the product to your needs, and you don't go away and thinking that you've been sold to. Most people, when you sell to them, they go away and they feel pressured that they'll take it in front of you because they don't want to disappoint you. But the next thing is they'll go and pick up the phone and cancel. But if you sell to their needs, they know that that's what they need. And you can be honest with them. If the bank is not the best for that particular product, you tell them, this one, you're probably good where you are. But in time, I had people queuing in the banking hall and they would say, you're not seeing anyone, just me.
Wow.
That's how I made it. Then during that time, I started applying to join the head office. I was looking at different roles and I wasn't getting any response back. No response at all, which was weird. But because of my performance, when I said I'm thinking of leaving, the regional director came over and said, no, Jones, you're not going anywhere. And I'm like, well, I think that I can do more. So he said, let's have a deal. I am going to contact the folks at the head office. You give me 6 months and I'll contact the folks at the head office and we can go and shadow someone. So we had the deal. I stayed 6 months, trained people in the branch, and after the 6 months, I got the job at the head office as a credit analyst. From there, I got to do other roles. I went into finance, quality control. You can think of pretty much moved around. It was almost like the experience of having been on a graduate program without actually being on it. For mine, it was just a case of being moved around because I guess I was
So have you had any failures? Because with all these stories you're telling me, it's almost like you're just moving from grace to grace, you set your mind to something, you do it. Have you had any major failure and how did you overcome it?
Oh yeah, major failure. The first major failure actually came at Legon.
Wow.
When I started the business journey. So the first thing was the school authorities opposed it. They thought that we were going to use it as a political tool because there was a silent Cold War between the School of Admin and the authorities at the top. And they thought that the student body was taking sides with the School of Admin authority. So they opposed it straight away. Then, of course, we pushed ahead. The executives thought that it was too ambitious a target. We had only 1 year, we were not going to achieve it. But then managed to get a few others from the other classes. I think those in level 200 or 100, and they all came along. Notably, Listo, who I believe is now with Asare. We got together, we stayed on campus, we worked on the journal. We would go pretty much to every business head we know, Coca-Cola, EcoBank, all the big institutions. And they refused to give us even adverts or money. We were begging for money to be able to publish this. So I sat down and said, hey, let's take dues, let's increase the dues for the students. They said, no, this is going to cost us because they are not going to pay it. I said, let's give them a reason why we're doing it. And that reason is to publish the journal and to connect us to the business world, which will also give us the opportunity to get placements, etc. Now, all that sounds great. No major failure so far. And we managed to convince, went back to the likes of EcoBank and said, we don't believe we can pull this off to the quality standard you expect, but we're going to do it. And if we do it, you're going to give us 10 times what we're asking for. Wow. They said, well, it's a challenge. If you do it, we'll give it to you. Then we managed to convince the school authorities as well to come along. That it has no political ambitions, and we got some of the articles written by Dr. Shinaka and some lecturers, etc., and some of the students. And as we showed it to Professor Diamonsa and all the others who were in position to say no to us, they realized that we weren't really trying to do anything naughty. So they permitted us to do it. We went to print. Unfortunately for us, this is where the failure comes in. We went to one of the big printing houses. I've even forgotten what their name was, but they got the contract to print ballot papers and didn't tell us that it was going to be a challenge. We set the date. We invited ministers. We had 3 ministers of state attending. The former, the first director of the School of Admin, R.S. Amegashi, and we're doing it in the R.S. Amegashi auditorium. All of them, all the student leadership, the dean of students, Professor Diamonds, all of them were looking forward to it because we planned it as a very big event, and they got ministers from everywhere to attend. Now, a couple of days to the event, we started panicking because there was not a single journal printed. And this event been publicized. We kept going to the publisher. Can you even give us a copy to proofread? They wouldn't give us anything. The day before the launch, they finally gave us a copy. We proofread it, and there were mistakes, and we needed to correct them. we sat there. I remember a team of 3. We sat there in the office, and they kept promising us that it would be done. They would give us at least 10 copies for the launch. Then we can come for the rest.
Wow.
6 a.m. Nothing, and I had to call Professor Adam's Dr. Ares Amegashi. At that time, Dr. Ares Amegashi had become a mentor to me because he liked what we were doing. So when I called him, he said, "Don't panic, Jules. Just make sure you call Professor Adam's." I called him to tell him, and he wasn't pleased. Do you know the number of people coming? Do you know the ministers? We've changed their schedule, and you're telling me that this is not going to happen. Anyway, and the advice was I should call pretty much all the dignitaries scheduled to attend, and I had to call to give them the bad news. So we cancelled the event.
Wow.
And I'm sure you can imagine not only the disappointment that I told you so. That's always kind of
Wow.
we were told over and over again it's not possible. It's too ambitious, and we went for it. So it was the biggest failure at that point. So after that happened, we took a step back, chased the preachers, and they finally gave us the journal. And we went around to see these individuals and ministers, and presented a copy to them, and told them where the new launch date.
Wow.
And when it came, the launch date came, it was the biggest event probably we've had. And so it went from the biggest failure to the biggest success at the time. EcoBank honored their pledge. They gave us good money, and I don't remember the sums now, but I remember us on the day having 40 million from the other institutions available, and EcoBank pledged to sign up for the next 5 years subscription, and they put the money in.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a major blow, having to deal with all of that, and imagine not having dealt at that level before, and not wanting to be political in the first place. It was a major blow, but also a major success story.
Exactly. So what we are hearing from Jones here, he failed, but he didn't stay there. He rose from it. Now let's go straight to Payangel. Why Payangel? Why the name? How did you get started? How did you make the whole thing become a household payment name?
Well, I'm always looking for ways to change things. Everywhere that I've been, I'm always looking to change things, whether it's in the branch, or as a credit analyst, or in finance, accounting. I'm always looking to change things, and always automating things. Of course, and living in the UK, I've always had to send money down. And I realized that the pain of having to go to a shop to send money, especially if you're working odd hours because your job demanded it. We couldn't get out of the office, and I was in Canary Wharf at the time. There was no Western Union office, so it meant that I had to pretty much drop everything at the time and go looking for an agent to send money. And if it's urgent, then I'm not going to make the card. So, and I was always thinking, this can be simpler. It can I could do it on my phone. Why do I have to go out to do it? So I started looking into it, and started looking at the various technologies that I could put together to get it done. And if I'm going to do it, of course, there has to be a verification element. So started researching all of that. And in 2013, we first launched as Pink Money.
Pink money.
Pink Money. To
Pink.
pink. Yeah,
Okay.
to Pink Money. But along the way, in 2016, we changed the name after trying to, trademark the name across the world. We had a US company that had nothing to do with the name, but they just set out to frustrate us. Yes, they set out to frustrate us, and Barclays stepped in because Barclays wanted to launch Pinkgate. We had priority in terms of trademark, but if our registration had gone through, we would have stopped Barclays' registration of Pinkgate. So I can't tell you how much we took, but we took a small amount of money from Barclays, and then we changed the name to Payangel. Payangel, as we were looking around, looking at names to change, just wrote a bunch of names down and thought about what do we really want to do. And Angel came to mind. Look at all the attributes of Angel, and we want to really be there for people, help people, and change the narrative. Money transfer is just simply too expensive, especially for Africa. We're supposed to be the poorest country, but we pay more than any other continent to transfer money. I know in 2005, Kofi Annan championed a campaign to get remittance costs for Africans down. At the time, we were losing about 2 billion in excess fees. 2 billion. You can imagine what that would do to Africa. Our education, pump that money into education, health, etc. The development that we'll see. So when I saw stories like that, it motivated me to say that, you know what, it can be done. And I looked at what was happening in Latin America and realized that when indigenous companies set up, they were able to reduce the hold that the likes of Western Union and Amegbor had on the market, to the point where their control of the market was reduced below 30%.
Wow.
Meanwhile, in Africa, we had it hovering around 70%. And all the reports basically suggest that the reason why the cost is so high, which was between 8 to 12%, compared to sub 3% for all the other markets. That was incredibly high, and the reason that they always give it is structural problems. You know, somehow find a way to make excuses for what's happening in Africa. Yes, there are issues, but not enough to make the cost that high. So that is how it got started on the journey, and the name was to reflect that. So initially we were looking at Pay Inc., which is the name of the company, but we needed something that would connect with people, and we thought Payangel did it better.
Wow, that is really brilliant. Okay, now we are rounding up, but before that, I want you to tell us your future plans when it comes to the company. Maybe there are some that you might not tell us because it's part of your business strategy, but what is in it for Payangel looking into the future, and what would you advise youngsters who look up to you, somebody like you, all the way from Keita in the village, rose or up to setting up a whole company that is doing so well when it comes to the payment industry, please?
Well, the vision of Payangel, we are going to be the biggest cross-border payments institution for Africans globally, no doubt about it. I don't for 1 minute think that we will achieve anything other than that. So we will be the biggest cross-border payment institution for Africans. That is our focus, and we're already in Europe and North America, and Africa, of course, is the focus of everything we do. So that is where we're going, and thankfully I'm from Ghana. Ghana is the hub. We're looking to focus on the Ghana market. So that's the reason why when we set up, we first looked at the UK-Ghana corridor, but then started expanding from there. So that is what we're looking to achieve. In terms of what people were motivating others, just look at my story. Before going to school, I was selling condo. I would wake up in the morning, go and sell condo at the local hospital with my brother, who is now a medical doctor. We sell, well, I will sell condo. He had the nicest one. He had provisions. He had
carrying condo.
I was carrying
condo. Right?
Well, no,
Wow.
But look at me. I believed, and so it can be done. It's a case of being focused, studying. That is very important as well, and making sure that you are consistent. You will have failures, you will have struggle, and as we build Payangel, I can't tell you all the struggles that we've had to face, and we continue to face struggles. But if you're consistent, you believe in something, you're consistent, you are going to achieve it. That is not to say that if you're holding a losing hand, stick with it. You have to be discerning as well, and make sure that whatever you're sticking with is you actually believe in it. And if you believe in it, then stay the course.
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight. That's much I say. It doesn't happen overnight. There are so many people that I've come across with great ideas. They start them. But because it's not happening overnight, this problem, you'll never see the results, what it could have been. If we had started, if we had stopped Payangel, there were so many points where that we could have stopped Payangel. We wouldn't have been where we are right now. So my advice to people is that it doesn't matter your background, where you're from, you can do it.
Right. Thank you so much, Jones, for this opportunity. Once again, viewers, thank you for staying in touch. Please look forward to our next show. My name once again is Asare. I'm a digital marketer. Thank you.